You never know, you know, first class, everybody might run away, not come back. So today I will do the second lecture in the series of 4 lectures. Okay? And I understand that we already have 6 presentations from people. And we can't do 6 today. My hope is to do, you know, 2 or 3 today, okay, and see what they're like, just quickly. Give you an idea of what it's like and do some comments. So today we will have 2 parts. We'll have me talking and we will have you talking, and we'll see how that goes and see what the timing's like. Okay, so if we can start up the other presentation. Analogy and metaphor. もう一つの。
This one?
That one, yes. Right, and next slide. Okay, so once again, just a brief overview. We have 4 sessions, and in the first session we had English versus Japanese. Okay, English presentations are more active, more interactive. Structuring your presentation, giving an introduction, a main body and a conclusion. Having time for questions. And we had some hints for using PowerPoint. And I hope that you all went home and made a presentation and tried using PowerPoint. Always my criticism of Japanese education is that there is too much talk and not enough do. So talk is important. Teacher should introduce something new. But it's important for you to have time to do things. Unfortunately, I only have 4 classes. And usually this would be 15 classes, 1 semester worth of work. So I am probably guilty of having too much talk and not enough time for you to do things. But really, if you don't go home and try making your presentation, this will mean nothing. Okay? You have to do it. So if you haven't done it yet, go home tonight, try it out. In session 2, that's today, we're going to look mainly at analogy and metaphor. And if you don't know what that means, you'll find out soon. We will also quickly talk about technical vocabulary. Very quickly. In session 3, next week, we will do chunking. Remember I said that's about big picture and details? We will look at pronunciation and also talk about body language. Finally, in session 4, we will go over handling questions and jokes. So these are really high-level skills. You know, like session 4 is hard. Okay, next slide. So today's topic is presenting with analogy and metaphor. And next one. Before I go into analogy and metaphor, here are some quick hints. Last time I gave you an overview of how to make a PowerPoint slide and really basic stuff. So my quick hints are also very basic points, okay? They are things that you really need to know to do any presentation. The first quick hint session is about controlling your state. It means being relaxed. You know when you stand up on the stage and everybody looks at you and your heart starts to pound and you start to sweat and you think you're having a heart attack and you feel like throwing up. Okay, well, that's not really so useful. You know, like, it's part of your fight or flight reflex. Your body gets excited. Okay? It's useful to have adrenaline running. It makes you more loud, excited. Okay? But, you know, if you get too much, it's too much. So, here are some hints. And I'm going to explain that these are for yourself. Often we think of these hints as being for other people. What I mean is that, for example, I'm going to tell you your clothes. Do you remember what I was wearing last week? I was wearing a suit. I always wear a suit on day 1. Why? Because on day 1, I don't know. What is the atmosphere like? Will everyone else be wearing a suit? Okay? It's it's kind of scary. If I come in, you know, a pair of old jeans with a ripped and hi, t-shirt, hi, everyone's wearing a suit. Panic time! Okay, so the suit is safe. Not the suit is best. Just a suit is safe. Okay? So I recommend for your speech contest also simple one-word categorized in what clothes? Wear a suit. Okay, just wear a suit. That's really easy. As a general rule, for Western presentations, people don't always wear a suit. Okay? You can think about it like this. If you are paid to be there, if you are asked to be there, you probably don't need a suit. If you applied to be there, if you asked, can I be there, then probably you need a suit. Okay, it's about your status. If you watch some really famous people like Apple, okay, if you ever watch the presentations for new software for Apple, they never wear a suit. The message is, I am so important, I don't need a suit. Okay, it's a very American thing. If you have a really good job, you don't wear a suit. Okay? So in my case, I started off as a school teacher. And I quite like working at elementary school because you don't wear a suit. And I quite like working at university because you don't wear a suit. But high school is kind of in the middle. And actually, you often have to wear a suit. And a suit's a hassle. Okay? So most Westerners think like that. They don't really want to wear a suit. But sometimes you have to. And in your case, this time you have to. Okay? A suit or something similar. If you're doing a presentation somewhere else, not here, then you can think about my rule. Did you ask to be there, or did they ask you to be there? Okay? If you asked to be there, probably don't need a suit. Probably need a suit. If you were asked, if you were told, please come, probably don't need a suit. If you want to be safe, always wear a suit. Okay? Now, once again, this is for you. Not so many people will notice. If you wear, respectable clothes, it's not usually a problem. But for your own stress level, if you walk into the room and everyone is wearing a suit and you are not, stress goes up. So for yourself, it's good. The other key thing for keeping your stress down is practice. I can't say this enough. I said it last week. If there is one key thing, one key message that I get across to you, practice. Okay? If you forget everything else I said, as long as you practice, you will correct yourself. If you make mistakes, you will get better. That's the important thing. Here is another technique for being relaxed. Think of a time you have done this before. What I mean is, think of a time when you have given a presentation before. And I'm going to link this to practice. The reason practice works so well is if you go at home and you practice, when you go up on the stage, you can remember practicing. Oh, it was okay when I practiced, it will be okay today. Relax. Another one, be early. Okay? There is nothing worse than running to give a presentation. You get there on time, you run up on stage, you start to sweat, your heart is beating. It's much easier to be early. Sit down, relax, have a drink. Watch everybody else run in. Ha-ha, you're all late. I'm early. Japanese people are good at this. Westerners are not. The final one is resources. I always like to have some backup information. So always in my bag, I have some of the books that I have used, some of my notes. I usually don't use them. Okay? Most of the time I won't look at my resources. It just makes me feel good. If you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I can say, just a moment. Oh, okay. So I like to have the resources. I don't use them. I didn't use them last time. I will use them today. I will use this one. But I don't usually use them. But I have them and it makes me feel good. And that's what this quick hint session is about today. To make yourself relax. Have fun. If you do well in your presentation, everyone will remember you. And it will be a great part of your life. And if you do badly, everyone will forget you. And it doesn't matter. Okay? So it's kind of a win-win solution here. You either don't do well, nobody remembers you, which is good. You do well, everybody remembers you, also good. Okay, next slide. Today's session, this is the core of our session, review last week. Okay, next one. Example presentation and or students' presentations. We'll probably concentrate on your presentations. Using analogy and metaphor. Next one. Technical vocabulary. The difference between presentation and a paper. A presentation and a paper. So that's what I'll talk about. And question time. Time for you to ask me questions. Next one. Okay. Too fast.
Oh,
I don't talk that fast. Think of your presentation as a 5-minute chance to teach your paper. Okay? So if you think about how this works, what happens is you write a paper and then you tell people about your research in your paper. If you have 10 minutes, 5 minutes might be for question time. So that's only a 5-minute presentation. That's really short. Think of it not as a chance to read your paper, but as a chance to teach the interesting bits of your paper, and also think of it as an advert so that people will read your paper. If your presentation is really good, people will go home and read your paper. So you don't have to explain everything that is in your paper. Just the key points. Enough so that people want to read it. That's what's really important. Your introduction should be a self-introduction. That's only 10 to 20 seconds if it's a 5-minute presentation. Hello, my name is Francesco Bolstad. I work at Kyoto University, and until the year before last I was a student here at Kyoto University. My research is on childhood language acquisition, children learning languages. Academic introduction means about your topic. Today, I will be presenting on primary school English education in Japan. Specifically, I will look at how to integrate primary school English education into the Japanese English education curriculum. That is, how to link what children learn in primary school with what they learn in junior high school, and university. That's 1 minute. That's my introduction. That's all I can say. Next one. The main body. You can have 1, 2, 3 points. That's pretty much all. Because 1 minute for each point is all you get if you have a 5-minute presentation. I can't say this enough. This is a short presentation. But academic presentations are often short. If you are a famous professor, you might get to talk for 2 hours. But in my personal experience, you're lucky if you get 30 minutes. Okay? This is the truth. You do a whole lot of research, 1 year, 2 years, you get some wonderful results. You go to the conference, probably you have 20 to 30 minutes. So presentations are always short, actually. 20 to 30 minutes sounds long, but actually it's not. We've already been here for 18 minutes. It's not long. Next one. Conclusion, 1 minute. This is where you really, really hammer home your point. You bring everything together. Okay? Your introduction, remember, you introduce why you did the research. What was the purpose? What is this part of? What is the big picture? In your main body, this is a review of last week. review of last week. In your main body, you give the details. And then the conclusion is your chance to go back and say, so those details mean this. In terms of my big picture, in terms of why I started the research, my details, my results mean this. So we're going to take a minute for your conclusion. Okay, that's longer than you might expect if you have a 5-minute presentation. Conclusion should be about 1 minute. Okay, next slide. Questions, 5 minutes. Okay. I think this is about the structure of your presentation when you are in the clock tower. 5 minutes to give your presentation, 5 minutes for questions. Questions take a long time. Okay, somebody has to run out with the microphone and it all takes time. Okay, next one. Okay, this is this week's topic, using analogy and metaphor. Now, here is my big picture. The reason I'm going to teach you about analogy and metaphor is that when you give a presentation, you have to describe things and define concepts. If I look in a book like this, this is Giving Academic Presentations, Susan M. Reinhardt. Okay, that's where the quote comes from, down the bottom. And her book is divided up. It's about giving presentations like you'll give. Her book is divided up into sections. She has Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? Now, Unit 1 is about giving an introduction speech. Unit 2 is about describing an object. Unit 3 is about explaining a process or procedure. Unit 4 is about defining a concept. Unit 5 is about giving a problem-solution speech. And Unit 6 is about putting it all together. So Unit 6 is just a conclusion. So really there are 5 key units. 2 of those units are about how to give a definition. How to describe a thing, or how to describe an idea, a concept. What I'm going to do is teach you in one quick lesson how to do both of those quickly and easily using analogy and metaphor. Now, her definition of how you define something is up on the computer screen. Defining, in a general sense, is simply pointing out the unique distinguishing properties of a concept in a particular context. Wow, that's a lot of words. How can we make that easier? Defining is about showing people a picture. Defining is about explaining an idea. Something like that. Nice and simple. Okay, next one. Now, metaphor. Metaphor is the process of using one thing to explain another. So, when you give a metaphor, what you say is you say X equals Y plus or minus Z. Oh, it's mathematics. It's so hard. What does it mean? Well, here's what it means. Very easy. Have you seen this drink before? I like it. Arginine plus vitamin C. It's called Powerful Energy. Have you tried this drink? Nobody has tried this drink. How can I describe this drink to you? It's sweet, and it has a kind of strange, not bitter, but kind of medicinal taste, like medicine. It's not really nice, but it's not bad. Do you know what it means? Do you have an idea? I think it's quite hard for me to describe this drink so that you know what it tastes like. In fact, I probably wouldn't really bother. What I would do to describe this is use a metaphor. Has anybody drunken Ornament C? Do you know Ornament C?
Yeah.
Who has tasted Ornament C? Okay, so I have covered most of the people here. Okay, it tastes like Ornament C. Finished. Very simple. What I'm saying is I'm saying that my X, which you don't know about, powerful energy, is the same as Y, Ornament C, which you do know about. Now, if it was exactly the same as Ornament C, we would have a problem. Probably Ornament C would go to court and say, you copied our drink, right? Pay us money. So they have to change something. So I will tell you that this arginine ingredient tastes metallic, like metal. So altogether, this drink, powerful energy, tastes like Ornament C plus metal. Okay? Now you know what it tastes like. Okay? That's using a metaphor. It's using one thing to describe another. And it's very quick. In fact, it's mainly how we learn. That's why it's so quick. And there is some very interesting research on this. So I'm going to tell you a little story. So just listen to my story for a moment. This sounds unrelated at first. This is a little story. It's a true story. It truly is a story about what happened many millions of years ago on Earth. You see, millions of years ago, aliens came to Earth. You don't believe me, do you? You think I'm crazy, right? I'm going to prove it to you. You see, what happened is that aliens came to Earth and they changed your DNA. Right? Any of you seen the movie Prometheus? No? Oh well, go and see it. You'll see. Okay, so the aliens came to Earth and they changed your DNA. And I can prove it to you because I can show you that they left their language in your DNA. It's true. And I'm going to draw some of their language for you. These are two symbols from the alien language. You know, we have an alphabet in English. You have kanji in Japanese. These are two symbols from the alien language. And I can prove that the aliens were here because you know the names of these two symbols. One of these symbols is called Buba. And one of these symbols is called Kiki. One is called Buba and one is called Kiki. And I want to ask you, which one is called Buba? Is this one called Buba? No. Is this one called Buba? Which would make this one Kiki. Well, that's correct, you see. This one is Kiki. And this one is Buba. And you knew that, right? It's because the aliens left their DNA in your body. Do you believe me? No. Oh well. Okay, I have another explanation. Maybe you'll believe this one. The human brain is designed to map one thing onto another. We have what are called mirror neurons. It's actually what makes us different to most other animals. not so different to chimpanzees. So next time you see them doing animal experiments, you might want to think about that. But we have what's called mirror neurons. It means that when I see your face, I feel the way you feel. I can see something and get a feeling in my body. You can look at these pictures, get a feeling in your body, and translate the feeling into a sound. Kiki sounds sharp. Booba sounds soft. Now this is true for about 95–99% of the human population all around the world. Some people, their mirror neurons don't work quite so well. Okay? So what I'm telling you is that the human brain likes to put things together, likes to map together. The human brain likes metaphor. It likes to say, this drink is like ornament C with a bit of metal at it. That's how the human brain works. And so, if you want to explain things to a human, using metaphor is a really good way to do it. And that's mainly what we have done throughout history. Next one. So I'm going to use metaphor in science. Science is the study of real things. Okay? It is not the study of ideas or concepts. We look at real things in science, but even then we use metaphor to explain how one thing is like another. So my first example is the cell, cybol. If you read what's up on the computer screen, it says the word cell comes from the Latin cellula, meaning a small room. Okay? The descriptive term for the smallest living biological structure was coined by Robert Hooke in a book he published in 1665 when he compared the cork cells, you know, like when you have wine and in the top you have cork. So he compared the cork cells through his microscope to the small rooms monks lived in. And the quote down the bottom is the first time cell was used in a book. So what happened is that a long time ago monks, you know, like Buddhist monks, Christian monks in this case, lived in small rooms, and they were very zen, even though they were Christian monks. So the room was very simple. Okay? And each monk had one room, and inside all he had was a dresser for his clothes, and a bed, and some water to wash his face. That's basically all there was in each room. And the shape of the rooms was a little bit round, actually, not square so much like our rooms are now. Next. So, what happened is that a monk's cell on the left was a little bit round. There were one next to the other, next to the other. And somebody looked at honeycomb. Okay? So honeycomb is what honey comes in before you spin it in a centrifuge and take the honey out. And when someone looked at honeycomb, they said, oh, look, honeycomb looks like a monk's room. So we will call it honeycomb cells. Now, Mr. Hooke looked at the cells in cork, which is what you see on the right, and he said, this looks just like honeycomb. So he called them cork cells. So you understand, this is a metaphor. One thing is like another. But this is a metaphor that we have used so often that we don't even think of it as a metaphor anymore. Okay? We actually think that cells are called cells. They are only called cells because they look like monks' rooms. It's just a metaphor. Next one. Here is the current metaphor for the cell. We now know a lot more about cells. We know about how they work. Now, as a biology teacher in New Zealand, I have to teach about cells. And as you remember, explaining things, sweet, kind of a little bit metallic, medicinal taste, doesn't work very well, does it? You still don't know what it's like. So I don't do it. When I'm teaching, I use a metaphor. When I have some young kids come in, I say, okay, I'm going to teach you about cells. So a cell is like a city. Okay? It has a special area called the City Hall. And the City Hall plans things. Anybody do biology? What do we call the City Hall in a cell? Nucleus. Nucleus, we say. Nucleus, yeah, okay. So that's where the DNA is housed, inside the City Hall. So inside the City Hall, you have a map of the city, of how the city should be. And people come and look at it, and someone comes and says, I think we should build a new building here. And the people in the City Hall, they look at the map and they say, no, 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 there's no building there. That building is over here. And they go out and they tell people. So the map is like the DNA. The City Hall is like the nucleus. And those people who work at the City Hall, looking at the map and telling people where to put buildings, they are like RNA, messengers. Of course, a city is no good unless you have some electricity. So we have a powerhouse in a city. We have a place where we make energy. Okay? If you do biology, then you'll know what part of the cell this is. Okay? So I can go through and I can explain all the different parts of the city which you already know. If you are a high school student, you already know what a city hall is. You know what a power station is. But you don't know what a nucleus is. I don't want to spend a very, very long time explaining a nucleus. I'm in a hurry. I'm a teacher. Also, I am irachi. I don't like to spend a long time. I get very, very frustrated. I want to be quick. I want to give you time to practice. So I just use a metaphor. Next one. So the city model works like this. This is just to show you. Construction sites of the ribosomes builds new structures. Transport company, endoplasmic reticulum, carries materials from place to place. The power plant, mitochondria, produces power, blah, blah, blah. These are all the bits of the city translated into the parts of a cell. Next one. Now, I have a little game to play. Can I have the two people on this table? Can you go to this table over here? And then we will have two groups. Can you stand up and move to here? Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to give you a scientific metaphor, and I want you in your group, each table, to think about what the concept is. Okay? So I want you to think about what is the concept, what are we trying to teach? So if I was to say a city, you would say cell. Okay? Like this. Okay, one click. Flowing water. Okay, talk in your group. Flowing water is my metaphor. What is the concept? What am I trying to teach? I'm going to get you to go the other way. Here are some topics you want to explain about. So you imagine you are going to tell someone, life is like travel. Okay, life is like a trip. Okay, it's a journey. Life is a journey. Now, when you have a metaphor like this, it tells you something about people. Metaphors are really powerful, so you have to be careful. For example, people who think life is like a journey enjoy the moment. People who think life is like a garden you have to give love and attention to each part, are usually happy. People who think life is like a war, like a battle, you have to fight to the end, often not so happy. They achieve a lot, but they are not so happy. Metaphors are really powerful. So in your group of 4 or 3, I want you to think of 1 or 2 metaphors for each topic. So life we did as an example. Life is like a garden, life is like a journey, life is like a war. You could think of 2 more. Language learning, learning a language, the economy, a nuclear reactor, love, being a student, university entrance exams, Kyoto University. Kyoto University is like... Maybe we will edit it out of the video. Okay, so I will give you some time. Please think of 1 or 2 metaphors for each topic. Something to use a metaphor to. It's very quick. It means that you can do a definition of an object, tegi, very quickly, or a concept, a new idea. As you can see, metaphor has been used again and again and again. It's the natural way that humans learn. And if you want your listeners to remember what you say, to learn from what you say, metaphor is my suggestion. Okay? There are other ways to do it. It's not the only way to do a presentation. But if you have 5 minutes and you want to explain something complicated, I suggest use metaphor. That's my suggestion. Finally today, I want to talk about vocabulary. And to talk about vocabulary, I need you to understand the difference between a paper and a presentation. And the reason for that is I'm going to tell you, if you use technical vocabulary, be very careful. Whenever possible, don't use technical vocabulary. Often when I hear Japanese presentations in English, I am amazed at how difficult they are to understand. And I notice 2 things. Japanese people don't like to put their hand up and say, "What?" They are embarrassed. So in Japan, it feels to me like people give very difficult presentations on purpose. Then there are no questions. It's very easy, right? Raise the level, nobody understands, life is easy. But I really don't like it. And in New Zealand, it is just not allowed. You cannot get away with that. People will stop you in the middle of your presentation and say, "What? I don't understand." Even if you are famous, people will stop you. If you don't use metaphor, if you don't explain so that people can understand, if you just use technical vocabulary after technical vocabulary, people just stop, go back. Didn't get that. Because we know we understand English. Okay? Japanese people are like, it's just me. My English is not good, so I don't understand. Oh, how embarrassing. I should be better at English. Sometime when you're at a presentation, stand up and look around. Everybody is going like this. It's not just you. Nobody understands. I don't think I'm incredibly smart, but what I've come to know is that I'm not stupid either. So if I don't understand, probably some other people don't understand too. If you want the people in your audience to understand, make it simple. If someone is reading your paper, they are in control. They can go back again and again and again. They can use a dictionary. In that case, technical vocabulary is really useful. You can take a very long sentence, a metaphor or a definition, a description, and use one word. That's great. And if the people who are reading your paper don't know the word, they can look on the internet. They're probably reading it on the internet. They can just overline the word, click, comes up in a dictionary. They are in control. They have all the time they need. They can read it again and again and again. None of that is true for a presentation. In a presentation, you get one chance and one chance only. You have to understand when someone says a word. What was that? Oh, next sentence. Oh, I don't know. So in a presentation, don't do that to people. Use some simple words. Use a longer sentence. Use a metaphor. Explain things simply and easily. Also, for your paper, not many people who are not in your area will read it. If you write about biology, biologists will read it. If you write about language learning, teachers will read it. In a presentation, there are many people there from different fields, and they can't get up and leave. So they have to listen to you, and they don't understand your area. So if you think about these things, who is in control? How much time do they have? What is your audience? Then automatically you will understand that a good presentation is a simple presentation. And next time you're listening to some famous professor talk with big words, you will understand this is not good. This is not what a presentation is about. A really good presenter makes everybody understand. I'm not saying don't use technical vocabulary, but I am saying be careful. The first time I came to Kyoto, I was with my father and I was 17 years old. And I picked up a pamphlet about Kyoto, written in English. And it came from Japanese. And it said, "The vicissitudes of life in Kyoto." What? What are the vicissitudes of life in Kyoto? No idea. 17 years old. I turned to my father. "Dad, what does vicissitudes mean?" He said, "Ups and downs." Why didn't they write ups and downs? Probably in Japanese, there is a simple word that everybody knows. And in the dictionary, it says vicissitudes. And they just translated it using the dictionary. They never thought that English speakers don't know this word. It's not a normal word for us. If you think about some other things, like, how do you say eye doctor in Japanese? Doctor for your eyes. What is the Japanese word? Mesha. It's quite a difficult word, but it's pretty easy because the kanji mean eye doctor. In English, the word is optometrist. And children don't know it. They say eye doctor. Because English is coming from Latin, coming from Greek. It's hard for English speakers. Technical vocabulary is very difficult in English for native speakers. We don't have kanji to back us up. We can't say me, isha, mesha, eye doctor. Okay? We can't do that. Some words are hard in English, harder than you think. Be very careful about the technical vocabulary you use. Okay, if you click, you'll see these points. How is the presentation different? Talked about it. Next one. Time. One more. Audience. One more. Control. Okay, these are my 3 points for why I don't recommend technical vocabulary. Keep going. Okay, question time. What questions do you have about metaphor and technical vocabulary? Nothing yet. You're still thinking. It's too new. Okay, then we are going to go on to your own presentations. Okay, and you can stop my one. And who would like to try presenting today? Okay? Rock, scissors, paper. For the two of you. Rock, scissors, together. Look at each other. Rock, scissors, paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you're first. Come on.
Me?
Yeah, you won.
My presentation. I start my presentation. Hello everyone, I'm Masako, a freshman at this university in Mexico. So I joined to iGEM group, which do some experiment about cell biology. So today I introduce you to our making equal life. Oh, well, do you like fancy? Somebody, do you like fancy? For example, Harry Potter One Piece. Do you like?
I like.
Right? I like. So I like some fantastic story and a mysterious creature in such story. So this our group all members hope, and so yeah. This year we make something fantastic creature. Then next point, please. So this year we made a magic eagle eye, making flowers blue. Making flowers blue, and for example, floral fairy in general that we make. So next point, please. What is eagle eye? Eagle eye is called delicious. So in Japanese, daichokin. Pathogenic eagle eye. You know all ichigon, 01571158. So this eagle eye is stomach. You feel stomachache. But others eagle eye, there are many others eagle eye. For example, carnivorous eagle eye. This picture shows about carnivorous eagle eye. This eagle eye, when it's hungry, very hungry, so this eagle eye lights. So the insect coming. When the insects coming, come, the eagle eye eat them. It's about carnivorous eagle eye. So magic from theory. Okay. So when I said we made magic eagle eye like a flower fairy. But how did we make flowers bloom? When flowers bloom, it has many flowers. It shows FT protein. This make flowers bloom. But the eagle eye have no function. So we made them to have many functions. About the order: 1. Expression, 2. Secretion, 3. Filtration, 4. Application. So the eagle eye have these functions. So they make flower bloom. From this page, it's finished. Thank you for listening.
Okay. First, it's a chance for you to give her some feedback. What is your advice? What were you not sure about? What was good? Any of those things? Yep.
I think you say something more loudly. Of course, when you do presentation, you can use the mic, but in this class, it's very small, but your voice is not. Sometimes your voice. Sometimes I can't understand what you said, so you have to, especially you use technical words. I don't know what it means, so you have to say something more loudly, I think.
You used a lot of many illustrations, so it is very easy to understand what you're saying. I think it is very good for you.
Yes. Regarding the second speaker's advice, I think some figures or pictures are very good for audiences to understand what your ideas. But about this slide, I couldn't, unfortunately, understand what this cartoons is about. What you want to say from this cartoon is for me unclear. So if you still use these pictures, I recommend you explain a bit more about these pictures. Does it make sense for you?
So more detail now. When you're explaining pictures or figures, it's very useful to tell people which one you're talking about. Perhaps even put numbers next to each one. So in figure number 1, you can see this is something something E. coli. In figure number 2, something something. Sometimes you can use a laser pointer. Okay? But it's very hard for people to know if it's a new topic, what each figure is. And so telling them specifically is good advice. Any more advice or questions, recommendations?
Although your presentation is the very first stage of, but I recommend you to make the time to spend for introduction shorter. You take almost 5 minutes to present to introduction. So practice.
And that's exactly, we don't have much time, so I'll move on from there and say that that's my very first note, introduction too long. Okay, so that's partly about practice. What it is that at first you're nervous, you're not sure what you're doing next, and so you say things again and again. And the more you practice, it's very, I know it feels hard to be the first one to stand up, but it gives you a huge advantage. Now you know what it's like to stand up. They think they know. They don't. When you stand up, it feels different. And it's very good to have that practice, go back and practice again and again and again and remember what it feels like. Also, I have a couple of technical questions. Firstly, you're working with E. coli, and you said E. coli eat insects, carnivorous E. coli? Yes, what do they eat? Insects. Mushy. Okay, okay. Okay, that's good. And can we skip along to the go forward. This one, up back. You are using E. coli as a type of vector, yeah? What exactly is E. coli doing? You give certain genes to the E. coli, or they already have this function? Can't hear. No.
Sorry, long.
Explain this slide again. Expression, secretion, penetration, activation. What does it mean? What happens here?
When the E. coli do
how the E. coli acts, stages of... Yes? I want to know more details, is what I'm saying. Of course, I don't want you to become too technical, but I think your presentation is too general. I want to know the details. I'm a scientist. I'm interested in your topic. I want to know specifically what you are doing with magic E. coli. I don't believe it's magic. And here I think you are explaining the science, and I need more information, more details. What expression of what? What does it express? Expressing E. coli, expressing a gene. What about secretion? Secretion of what? What is it secreting? Penetration into what? Into the flower? What penetrates the flower? The excretion from the E. coli or the E. coli? Activation, what does it activate? Details.
Sorry, in the next page, I think.
The details.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
yes.
okay.
Sorry,
Okay,
sorry.
so that does make more sense. Okay. Okay, so you will have details of each stage of the how the E. coli works. Okay. So this is your big picture.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's very good. Okay, I like that. Okay then, thank you very much. Okay, let's try for one more presentation.
So you can use that
Okay.
computer and you can control it by yourself.
Just please, relax.
Okay. Okay,
it's okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yo Sonobe, and my faculty is Integrated Human Studies. And I wanted to introduce you to British horse racing. Maybe you know this is horse racing. Okay, I expected this atmosphere. Maybe you think like that. Why did you choose this topic? Horse racing? It's just gamble, you think. Why did you choose? You have to choose academical topics. Why did you choose? Okay, your opinion is horse racing is gamble. Okay, your opinion now. But I assert British horse racing is totally different from Japanese one. Totally different. And in the end of my presentation, your opinion will be changed, I promise. And before my presentation, I want you to remember this word, this sentence. British horse racing is one of the biggest British culture. You have to remember. I think now you cannot aspect this sentence. Maybe your image is just gamble. So you cannot aspect, but you have to remember this first. Okay, and sorry, I little bit explain about the outline of my presentation. First, I explain about the history of British horse racing. And next, I explain about the present situation of horse racing. And third, I explain about what British people think about horse racing. Okay, let's go. The history of horse racing. Do you know when British horse racing began? Do you know? Maybe I think you guess maybe in the 15th century or 16th century, British horse racing began. You think, I don't know, but you think like that, I guess. Actually, British horse racing began in 6th or 7th century. It means British horse racing have a long history. And in the Middle Age, in the Europe, and the relationship between the upper class people and horses is very interesting, I think. For example, so some kings present the very famous horse to the people and women who he love. You know, it means the horse is a tool of proposal marriage. You know, it's very funny, I think, proposal marriage. But in short, generally speaking, the horse is a tool of diplomacy. Diplomacy. One country and another country, and use, okay, diplomacy. Okay, but until maybe 18th century, people who could go to horse racing were only upper class people. Only upper class people. So upper class people enjoyed their privilege exclusively, I think, until 18th century. But after the Industrial Revolution, this situation was changed. After the Industrial Revolution, middle class people became rich and had a lot of money, so they wanted to go to the horse racing. So this situation was changed after the Industrial Revolution, and jockey club was established. Jockey club is the people who ride on the horse. This is the committee of horse racing. It's jockey club, and jockey club standardized horse racing. Until 18th century, style of horse racing are different. One area is one style of horse racing, and another area another style of horse racing. But after the 18th century, jockey club was standardized and united style of horse racing. This is a very big change, I think. But maybe you think because of that, more people can go to the horse racing than before. Of course, more people can go too, but people who can manage horse racing were still only upper class people. Even now, people who can manage or arrange horse racing were only upper class people. So upper class people have still enjoyed their privilege exclusively. But you think it's no good, but this is a British culture. You expect these things, you have to expect these things. Okay, next. In short, British horse racing has very long history, and it was always concerned and related to upper class people. Okay, next. The present situation of British horse racing. So if you go to the turf, turf means racecourse. If you go to turf, or if you watch British horse racing, what do you think and what should you do? If you wanted to go to the British horse racing and British turf, you have to wear suit or dress. It's like that. Okay. It's like that. Maybe you are surprised at these things. But you have to wear suits or dress, and even you have to wear hat. If you are a woman, you have to wear hat like that. Some Japanese women think it's too beautiful and too wonderful. It's no good. But if you don't like that, you can wear the Japanese traditional clothing, kimono, you can. But in the UK, women have to wear the clothing like that if they want to go to the horse racing. And sometimes others too come here. Actually, every June, royal family managed one big race. This tradition maybe have continued still since maybe 16th century or 17th century. This has very long history. So sometimes royal family come. It is very British, I think, very English things, I think. So I would say, even now, British horse racing reflects on British society clearly. In this case, British society is hierarchical society. Hierarchical society means the society based on class system. It means you can clearly separate who is the upper class people and who is the middle class people and who is the lower class people. this is a British society, and if you go to the British horse racing, you can watch every people wear suits and dress, and some room is if you go to the horse racing, you cannot enter some room because this room is very special. It means this room was arranged for celebrities or royal family. So this is a very this is reflects on British society, I think, hierarchical society. Okay, next. So what British people think about the horse racing? For British people, horse racing is just gamble, as you think. What do you think? Actually, in this summer, I went to the UK and I stayed in the Newmarket. And Newmarket is a very famous place in the UK. There are a lot of horses and there are a lot of horse trainers. So I could talk with them and I listened to their opinion. So I introduce you what they said. For British people, horse racing is, many people say like that. Their pride and their culture, many people say. Actually, many people say like that. Maybe you surprised at this comment, but many people said like that. Okay, finally, my conclusion. But before I say my conclusion, I will ask this question. Did you change your image of horse racing? Or what do you think about British horse racing now? Okay, at first, your image was a gamble, okay? Okay, your image is gamble. But I wish you think like that. British horse racing is not just gamble, but also the biggest British culture. I said again, so in the beginning of my presentation, you heard this comment, but I wish you think like that. British horse racing is one of the biggest British cultures. I wish your opinion was changed. Okay, finally, I want to say again, British horse racing is the biggest British culture. This is my message of my presentation. This is very important, I think. You have to remember this comment and this sentence. British horse racing is the biggest British culture. Okay, thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're a little bit over time, but just quickly, do you have any comments, any feedback, any questions on the presentation?
Thank you for your impressive talk. I understand horse racing is a British culture, but you said British culture is the biggest culture. So I would like to know how to measure the strength of the culture. I would like to know your opinion.
For me, what is the British culture?
Measure the strength of the culture. It's the biggest.
Yes. Why biggest?
Yeah.
Okay. I think first, of course, British horse racing has a long history, and also, actually, maybe you know the soccer, football is very famous in the UK, but this is very famous, and I think this is a British culture. But the second famous sports is horse racing, actually, in the UK. I think this is a very big thing. For me, the culture is, maybe you think, I think the culture is something which people in the country think this is culture. So, and also have a long history and also reflects on this country's society. I think so. All elements horse racing satisfied, I think.
May I understand that the language of the history
Yeah.
is a key to the strength of the culture.
I think so.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, feedback? Yes. Can't hear at the back. Speak louder.
Your talk is nice and it's interesting, but I think your presentation is not so great enough
Yeah.
to change my opinion.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
I think your presentation is simple, but too simple.
Yeah, sorry, I made this presentation just yesterday. I'm sorry. Maybe I think too simple and a little bit not academical. I think.
Okay.
So I have to use this more. I have to do more specific presentation. I think.
Okay, just one more.
I'm sorry, but I disagree with her. Because my opinion has changed, completely changed, because I thought horse racing was just, but my opinion has changed. And I thought you like horse racing too much, so your talk tends to be a little bit long.
Yeah, I think
Each content of your presentation is a little bit long. So
yeah,
maybe
10 minutes or more. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Okay, we're over time, so I just want to give a couple of bits of feedback and then finish up. Firstly, it is very interesting today to compare the two presentations. One is a science presentation and one is a literature presentation. And that gives you a very good idea of the difference. And firstly, let me say literature is hard. Good luck. If you're presenting in your second language, science is easier. If you get your message across, then you win. In literature, you have to convince people. And you haven't convinced me yet. Okay? So I don't know what is your main topic. What were you trying to convince me of? I guess horse racing is more than just gambling. It's part of British culture.
Yeah.
In that case, give me some details, give me some examples. Horse racing in Hong Kong. How did horse racing spread to the colonies? How did horse racing move with the British Empire? Those kind of details that show to me that where British culture went, horse racing went too. That would convince me that horse racing is a key part of British culture. You need examples. And when you get that and you narrow down your focus, you can make your presentation shorter. It was 11 minutes, so you have to make it much shorter.
Okay.
To do that, narrow down your focus, think of some strong examples to prove one point. What is your point? Say your point in the introduction. I'm not just going to talk about horse racing, I'm going to show to you that horse racing is an integral part of British culture. Say that in the introduction. I will do this. Then do it. Then finish.
Okay. Okay.
And let me say again, that's hard. Okay? Literature in your second language is harder than science in your second language. Just honestly. Science is hard in and of itself. The key to science is doing the experiments, getting the data. The key to literature is having good ideas and expressing them to people. Your presentation is your research when you do literature. You have to convince people. But very good example of science and literature presentations and the difference between them, I think. Okay, it was very good to have 2 presentations. I hope to do at least 3 next week. Please, if you have submitted it, change it, do more. Get back, come back next week. I want to do 3 or 4 next week, and then more the next week, okay? My key topic for today was to make sure that you understand how to use analogy and metaphor to make your presentation short, to get a lot of detail, a lot of impact in a short time. Okay? Because you don't have long. With regard to technical vocabulary, for the reasons I outlined, the audience, the time, and control, I suggest you are very careful about what technical vocabulary you use. Now that is a problem for scientists, so be very careful about that. We'll finish up because we are already 15 minutes over time. Please have a nice night, nice weekend. See you next week.